Recording in progress.
Good morning. There we go. We're sitting down. I want to welcome you to the Tuesday, July 11th meeting of the St. Joseph County Board of Commissioners. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First order of business is bid openings for the Facilities Condition Assessment and Space Allocation Study. Bree?
Thank you. Bree Roberts with offices on the 7th floor of this building. As you mentioned, this is for the request for proposals for both the Facilities Condition Assessment and the Space Allocation Study. Bidders are as follows. Abbenmarsh with an address of 95 West Main Street in Benton Harbor, Michigan, 49022. CBRE with an address of 321 North Clark Street in Chicago, Illinois, 60654. Cordigan Clark with an address of 322 Main Street in Lafayette, Indiana, 47901. Creative Design Solutions with an address of 224 West Jefferson Boulevard, Suite 100, South Bend, Indiana, 46601. DLZ Indiana LLC with an address of 2211 East Jefferson Boulevard, South Bend, Indiana, 46615. Terracon Consultants, Inc. with an address of 611 Lunkin Park Drive, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45226. Veritas Group, Inc. in partnership with K2M Design Incorporated. Veritas Group having an address of 6280 North Shadeland Avenue in Indianapolis, Indiana, 46220. K2M Design having an address of 200 South Meridian Street, Suite 550, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46225. Were there any bidders who submitted a bid or wish to submit a bid that were not read aloud? And seeing none, I would ask that the board turn these bids over to county staff for further review and recommendation at a later date.
Do we have a motion?
A motion to approve that.
I'll add on, this is a long time coming. This building is totally obsolete. For the people who worked here, the people who come in here, the parking is abominable. The building is held together with duct tape and Band-Aids, so this is a good step of seeing, once we get some information back from these fine companies, that the next step that we'll take, so I'll second that.
Commissioner
Have a
Fleming,
motion?
how do you vote?
Oh, vote aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bree.
Accept the bids.
Thanks, Deb.
Just
Thank
gonna
you.
review them.
Uh-huh.
Next, bid openings for RNS miscellaneous road resurfacing on various roads.
Good morning. My name is Michael Meeks. I work for Infrastructure Planning and Growth on the 11th and 7th floors. Today we've received two bids for resurfacing in the subdivisions. One from Milestone Contractors North, 24358 State Road 23, South Bend, and one from Reith Rally Construction Company, 25200 State Road 23, South Bend. Is there any other bidders that wish to submit a bid?
Now what?
Hearing none, we ask that you submit, that you send these to the county engineer for review and for approval.
Any questions or comments?
How many miles will that resurfacing be?
Yeah, it's about half a project. I can't tell you off the top of my head, Commissioner.
5, 10, 50?
Probably between 5 and 10.
Okay.
With no other comments, do we have a motion?
Well, a motion to so far accept these bids.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks. Next, we have the accounts payable docket. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next is our employee of the month for May.
Our employee of the month for May is Barbara Zimmerman from the prosecutor's office. Barbara is a receptionist and a highly valued member of her office. She goes above and beyond every day, not only for her coworkers, but for the public that come into the office. She makes sure people receive assistance and helps calm upset individuals down. She has been with the prosecutor's office for nearly 19 years. Her attitude and experience is integral to how the office functions. She is not only a great asset to the prosecutor's office, but a great asset to the entire county as well. Thank you, Barbara. Let's give her a round of applause. Yay.
Well, this is one of the more enjoyable things we get to do.
You want to step up to the microphone and some coworkers?
Yeah, anybody else wants to say any comments?
Oh, you tell them, Deb.
I'm sorry. I
Go
just.
ahead. Go ahead. Go on up there with her. Y'all
Sure,
had
come on
25 minutes.
Great.
Hello, my name's Candy. I work
Could you
with
pull
Barb
the,
and I
pull
was
the
not.
microphone
Oops.
down a little bit?
Yeah, so we can hear you. Yeah.
Thank
My
you.
name's Candy Block-Tinkle. I'm from the prosecutor's office and I have the pleasure of working with Barb. And I was nominated to tell you a little bit about her and the work that she does. It's short, I promise. Barbara Zimmerman joined the county more than 19 years ago in June of 2004. She started her career working at the Special Victims Unit and has been the receptionist secretary on the 10th floor for approximately 15 years. No one that walks into the prosecutor's office is happy or having a good day. She greets everyone with a smile and a friendly, "How can I help you?" She is considerate and kind to everyone she encounters. Barb has a way of taking care of the little things and putting that mom touch on everything she does. She also shares her baking skills by leaving treats in the kitchen for us. Running the front desk, she makes everyone else look good. The prosecutor's office is thankful to have such a dedicated, caring person at the helm of our ship. Thank you, Barb, for all you do, and congratulations on receiving the Employee of the Month award. It's well-deserved.
Well, how many prosecutors have you worked under?
This is,
Step to your right?
yes, this is my second.
Okay, who do you like the
Started with-
best?
No
I should have
comment.
put her on the spot.
No,
No.
that's, like, I know that, like, the population and the people who come in, that's a very tough job because people are coming in, some are angry, some are despondent, some have nowhere else to turn to, so really appreciate all the work you've done over all these years.
Thank you all very much. It's been a pleasure. It's different every day. I love it.
Well-deserved. Let's get a picture.
Oh, my.
There you go.
Okay.
Right up here. Right up here? Right in front of Carl's name.
Oh, boy. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, sure, I do.
Some of the workers here?
Okay, over here? Okay, thank you, sir. All right, thank you.
Yeah, I can take photos.
That means extras.
Put that right there for 1 second. Alright, everybody smile. Okay, one more phone.
rest of the day off? Wake him up. You need the rest of the day off? Guess not. That's how everybody else. Boy, maybe you get the day off. John Murphy will scratch that off on the. We should do that.
Oh, yeah,
You should get the day off. I'll bring it up.
bring that up.
All right,
Okay.
take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item D, approval of settlement agreement. Mr. Mish, do you want to?
Mr. Augustino is here.
Oh, I didn't see you. I'm sorry, Pete. Didn't see you back there.
My tall stature prevented me from being
You've
observed.
got 3 minutes.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry.
Is that 3 minutes of
We'll just-
American time? Peter Augustino, 131 South Taylor Street, South Bend, Indiana, Deputy County Attorney. So before you is a settlement agreement for a injury death claim that occurred back in February of 2019. This was a very difficult case in which a young lady lost her life, but it was a case in which it would be very difficult for either side to prove what happened, and for us to continue to defend ourselves, we would have had to employ a accident reconstructionist, and so the cost of that would have been in the $25,000 to $30,000 range plus defense costs. So we think we were able to accomplish a pretty good settlement here, given the type of case it was and given what the future costs would have been to defend ourselves. So I would recommend approval of the settlement agreement.
Any questions for Mr. Augustino? If not, do we have a motion to approve the settlement agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote? Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion
Thank you.
carries.
Thank you.
I inadvertently checked off item C, which is approval of agreement with Brewer Morris. This is an agreement to have Brewer Morris assist in recruitment. We only pay if they bring a candidate to us that we hire. Otherwise, there's no cost to the county. Any questions?
Yeah, this originally, President Baxmeyer and myself put a tag of $120,000 for a HR financial director. The county council then removed $20,000 out of that, and we feel that we didn't get it of the quality of candidates for $100,000 that we would have probably gotten for $120,000. So now we're gonna have to pay a firm, and they'll get 20% of that. So that's where we're at. And I'll leave it at that, Mr. Castellan.
Any other comments? If not, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve this agreement with the,
Reluctantly, I'll second.
yeah.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next item on the agenda is Resolution R16-C 2023 opt-in agreement.
I can address this. So state law recently changed. St. Joseph County operates slightly different than most counties across the state in how our government is formed. Our 3 commissioners and 9 council members, and who has what power is slightly different. There was a change legislatively that now allows counties to opt in, or a select number of counties to opt in to that form of government. It requires an opt-in by September 1, and that's what this resolution does, is opt in to our current form of government.
Right.
Comments?
How does this relate to the lawsuit that has been filed against us by the city?
It will change the tone of the lawsuit. The lawsuit is currently based on the old law. I would suggest that the lawsuit is moot because it's based on a previous law. This will also change the status of the claimed special legislation. Now there are, I believe, 4 counties that are impacted by this law, not just 1 county. So it may result in a dismissal, it may result in a refiling, but something will have to change in the current lawsuit that's been filed by the city against the county.
Just a slight correction, I thought it was 5 that were,
I
Was it
think,
four?
I think it's us, Tippecanoe, Elkhart, and there was one more, Hendricks, maybe.
any further questions? If not, do we have a motion?
Will a motion to approve this resolution R-16-C-2023?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, approval of letter for wetlands mitigation permit. This stems from a proposed development at the northeast corner of Douglas and State Road 933, there at the entrance to the toll road. It's the area that was formerly occupied largely by married student housing. Notre Dame has been working with a developer to put forth a proposal to develop that. There are several wetland areas on there. There are 2 very small wetland areas totaling 0.24 acres. And the developer is seeking permission to fill those in. While ordinarily I am not in favor of filling in wetlands, in this case there is a provision in the state through IDEM to offset that by paying for additional wetland reclamation. It's done at a 2.5 to 1 ratio. So there would be slightly more than 0.6 acres of wetland restored in the state, which I think is a good thing. We have been asked to submit a letter of support for that, and that's why it's on the agenda today. Do we have any questions or comments regarding that?
I just think I agree with you. I think it's a good thing to do, yes.
Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the letter for wetlands, the wetlands mitigation permit?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to the auditors. Approval of proposal for the preparation of the annual 4D cost. I'm sorry. That's twice I've done that today. At the auditor's request, we're going to table that to a later date. Moving on to the emergency.
We have a motion to
Oh,
table.
I'm sorry. Thank you. See, I'm really excited about
A
today.
motion to table it?
Yes, we have a motion to table that.
Mhm.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote? Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay.
Now, moving on to Emergency Management Agency. Approval of the proposal for professional services agreement with Christopher B. Burke Engineering, the St. Joseph County Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Good morning, Commissioners. Al Kursitz, EMA Director with offices at 125 South Lafayette, right across the street where the door is always open and you're always welcome to come in. Deputy Director Jim Lopez. We have copies for you if you don't have them. I think they were sent electronically. What we have here is our multi-hazard mitigation plan. It is a required law that you have these plans, update them every 5 years. It's the Stafford Act out of 2000. Extremely important because of a lot of our other plans use this data. This is also very important in economic development, such that if you had to mitigate areas, perhaps like flooding in an area, if you don't have this plan done and you want to try to get some FEMA money to mitigate it, you're going to be behind the 8 ball on it. So we would ask that you approve this. The funds are there. We received a $20,000 grant from FEMA to provide for Christopher Burke, who is one of the leaders in the state. They did Marion counties, Elkhart, and LaPorte counties. Very talented agency, a very good, robust plan that we'll be able to use. We also have to do a $6,000 in-kind contribution, but the clock is already ticking on that. We're keeping track of our time. We've worked on this. Anybody who comes to these meetings that we're going to be having, these planning meetings, and that includes all the towns in our county and the cities, their time is added to this, so we'll have no trouble meeting that requirement. We've already started on that. So if there's any questions, I'm here to ask or answer them.
Sure. You said this is done every 5 years?
Yes,
Do we have the old plan from 5 years ago?
yes, we do.
Okay, and then once this report, are you guys able to compare that to see how either much you guys have improved this, or?
Yeah. And it'll look at your entire community, what you've done to maybe mitigate things like flooding. I could think that impacted me. The flooding we had in was 2017, that major flood and stuff. The city put some caps on the storm drains that go into the river, like a exhaust cap, so the river water couldn't back up and go back into the neighborhoods. That's a bit of a mitigation, that. So failure to have this, you're looking for grant money for economic development project, you might not get it. Or if there's a disaster and you want to apply for FEMA reimbursement, if you don't have that, you might not get it.
Just let all the townships know what's available, that type of stuff?
Yeah.
Or how else would you disseminate
Yeah.
that?
They have to attend the meeting.
Yeah, they have to attend the meetings. And we've been trying to drum up, actually through our other LEPC committee, but like the town of Indian Village, they have to come to this. Walkerton. And naturally, some people may not show, but we're going to try to encourage them, get them here. We're going to serve food, because people will usually show up if you're having a luncheon
pays for
with
that?
it. What's that?
Who pays for that?
The commissioners, of course. No,
Shocking.
no, we have it budgeted. It can come out of the budget and that. So we want to
Now,
instill
would this stuff
excitement.
be applicable, Jimmy, to such as the ethanol plant thing? Or,
It could, that's an example. I was thinking of the new battery
Thank you.
plant we're building, or what happened out there. Should you, right,
no,
but
either way,
if,
it's cool.
if you're looking for, you identify a problem, we need some money, FEMA has some. Failure to have this plan updated could jeopardize getting that federal money to mitigate that.
In the past, do y'all know if the previous director had done the step and attempted to communicate with people in the county to let them know, or it was? If you don't have to answer if you don't want, I'll answer. Probably not, so.
When the plan was done 6 years ago, I was part of the plan. We did send out requests, information to the other agencies. Very few people responded.
Okay.
Christopher Burke and Associates is an outstanding agency.
Step
as
to your
well as,
right so everybody can hear you.
I'm sorry?
Step to your right?
6 years ago, when we did the plan, yes, we did send that
Okay.
information out to all the cities, towns, county agencies.
But
Christopher-
I'm assuming the previous director didn't have, hey, I talked with Liberty, everybody, there was no,
Information was sent out at the time. I don't want to say it wasn't followed up, but yes, it was sent
Okay.
out.
I'm good.
I think part of the thing is you got to stir up some excitement with these officials and tell them how important this is to their town, city, county.
I'm sure, Carl, we can
Well,
release
good.
something.
Yeah, a good example is the East Liverpool train derailment.
Absolutely,
That
absolutely.
dominated the news.
Yes.
And this will be, as the title says, multi-hazard. It's not just flooding,
Absolutely.
it's not just rail.
Yeah, there's actually like 13 hazard disciplines they use on. Some won't apply to us that much, like rock slides, but.
How about train whistles? Because we have a lot of people from Light that complain about that. Would this have
no,
anything to do with
no,
that?
Train whistles
You
aren't
sure?
here.
I'm
Just a-
you're sure.
Just to follow up a little bit on Derek's question, is there any penalty if communities don't participate?
Failure, no, unless you need the help, and then you need FEMA dollars for reimbursement from a disaster or future development that you're going to try to get federal money for a project could be jeopardized by not having this plan in place.
Cool, that's a good start. And then also, I compliment you guys for cleaning out the garage at Riverside, which was just a
Thank you.
storage for dump and everything else, and Bree in her office of getting rid of the vehicles that have been sitting out there and rusting. So good job on that too. Thank you.
Yeah, he's done a great job, and we couldn't just throw some of that stuff away via FEMA guidelines. We had to dispose of it properly, and we have done a good job.
McMish is still looking for some of those gowns if you
Well,
have a couple.
we have
left
some
over.
reserve.
care of him.
What size?
16, 18, I believe is the size on that.
For those of you who don't know, there was a tremendous amount of material left over from the COVID pandemic out at the Riverside Garage. Derek pointed that out and worked hard with getting that cleaned up.
A lot of it, actually, we were able to, by an outreach effort to colleges around this whole area, even outside our county, that have nursing programs, dental hygienist programs, veterinary programs, were willing to take that equipment.
And if you have any of those green CERT backpacks, Mr. Augustino would like one of those helmets too for the office.
Yeah, yeah, we
Extra large.
Any other comments? If not, do we have a motion to approve the proposal for professional services with Christopher B. Burke?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll have to be leaving. I have an appointment in Ohio, and, Deputy
can,
Director Lopez will be here. Thank
And
you.
August is International EMA Shave Month, by the way. All right.
He really does look like August. Next, infrastructure planning and growth. First item is the consent agenda. We only have one item, which is the 11th annual Get Wet for a Vet Ride. Nothing else to be added. Do we have approval for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, approval of award for the demolition quote for properties 14380 and 14440 on Douglas Drive. Morning, Terry.
Terry O'Brien, Economic Development Planner, Department of Infrastructure Planning and Growth. My office is on the 11th floor. Earlier this morning, the Redevelopment Commission approved the appropriation for property located at 14402 and 14380 Douglas Road. The Board of Commissioners purchased these properties in January of 2023. We sent out bids to demolish these properties. The low bid was $88,870. We acquired these properties, and we will be demolishing these properties to make way for potential future road improvements between Mishawaka city limits and Capitol Avenue along Douglas Road.
Do you
What's
wanna
the
speak?
quote?
Go ahead.
How much is what is it worth, the award?
The award was $88,780 for two houses.
And how many other bids had come in on that?
There were two bids that came in, and that was the low bid, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah.
There being no other questions, do we have a motion to approve the demolition quote for the Douglas Road properties?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next is the approval of award for the demolition quote at 56150 Larison Boulevard.
Terry O'Brien, very similar to what I just spoke about. This property was also purchased in January of 2023 by the Board of Commissioners. This property is located at 56105 Larison Boulevard in the Indiana Enterprise Center. The bid to demolish that property to make way for future development near the GM plant was $53,080.
We only had the one quote, correct?
Correct.
And that's for just the house, barn, just everything on the property?
Correct, everything on the property.
What, house, barn?
To make it shovel-ready, everything, the
Okay.
house, the garages, the sheds, to make it
All right.
shovel-ready.
How many acres was that property, do you know?
I don't recall. Less than an acre?
Okay. So is offhand, you know how many square foot the house was?
I don't recall. Maybe 1,800 square feet?
Okay. Is that kind of the going price, 53,000 for that size of house?
Yes, sir.
And you're okay with that then?
Yes, sir.
I thought.
Yes, ma'am.
And there was some more asbestos abatement and things on the other properties that
Correct,
less is needed on this property.
correct.
If there are no other questions or comments, do we have a motion?
A motion to award the demolition quote.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote? Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I understand we have one item of new business that we want to.
Sure, we've
Bring
got
up.
some new business. Yesterday at the Drainage Board meeting, which probably none of you have ever attended, by the way, there was they was a couple of people here who had some issues. We have John Law and Surveyor Robert Krasinski also. So they concealed my thunder and explain what happened. It had to do with a possible leak coming from the ethanol plant. So I would ask John and Robert and our two complainants all step up to the mic and tell everybody what's going on out there on the west side of the city of South Bend, by the way. As John Law get us up there, he is our St. Joe County Employee of the Year for last year too, John Law. So come on up. Go ahead, Mr. Surveyor.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here to tell you about what we had over the 4th of July weekend out in the Kankakee and the Dixon Ditch area. I was informed on Saturday morning of a discolored spill, you want to call it, in the Dixon Ditch, Kankakee River area. And I immediately got a hold of John Law, who went out there. I also got a hold of Mr. Randy Mathis, who sits on the Drainage Board, who farms some of that area there, who's very familiar with that, and had him drive that to see if there was anything that we, as the Drainage Board, or under my authority, that I needed to do to the ditch in an emergency situation. But after getting back from Mr. Mathis and Mr. John Law going out there and witnessing what they saw, there was nothing that we could do on our part. I know over the past couple days after that, which you're going to hear from Brent Burkus and Chantel Snyder in regards to their concerns, and Mr. Law, under his power and my power, we did everything legally and drove legally what we could without not getting on private property. There's been a lot of documentation in regards to, the ethanol plant and so on, and that is where IDEM has come in. And once IDEM comes in, and I believe Mr. Burkus will comment on that, takes over that investigation, I'm pretty sure they're going to be contacting everybody involved in relation to the ethanol plant and looking in to see what procedure, if there was any, that wasn't followed. That's basically all I have, but I've got to commend Deputy Director Mr. Lopez for helping us out in this situation, and John Law, because like I said, it was a 4-day weekend, and everybody went to work trying to see if there's anything that to protect the county that we could do, and at that time there wasn't. And could there have been some more steps in place? Could have, and I believe Chantel probably will speak about that, but I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
No, that's good. If the two landowners want to come up and just give us like a very brief overview, or John or whoever wants to, I think Bobby covered most of that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So just like a 2-minute synopsis of your area and so on and so forth.
Okay, I will make this short. Chantel Snyder, president of Arthur Snyder Farms, Inc. Our biggest concern initially was that we were not informed. Some of the individuals that were driving the ditches and looking at the potential spill did not inform the landowners. The ethanol plant apparently was aware of the issue. and did not inform the landowners. And there's a ditch that comes directly from ethanol plant property into my property alongside my property. We actually, Arthur Snyder Farms actually had to give up acreage in order for that ditch from the ethanol plant to be created. And that ditch runs right along my farm and goes into the Dixon Place ditch to the Kankakee. And that is a major concern, that there was no notification for the affected landowners. I myself did not find out until Thursday, the 6th, when individuals were aware of this problem on the 1st, and we could have been notified much earlier. I actually found out through Brent and my tenant, Steve Mathis, who was unfortunately unable to be here because of personal issues. But, you know, we have some concerns about the failure of the ethanol plant to notify us, and there's seemingly lack of safety alarms to notify them, because one comment was made to me that a valve was opened they didn't even know about. And that is a scary idea to me. So the issues of plant safety need to be raised with the ethanol plant and have alarm systems in place. There needs to be some kind of early warning plan for the landowners. We also need to know what was spilled into the ditches, how much, for how long, because we all irrigate out of those ditches. And, you know, thank God we had rain, because we could have been needing to water, and if we hadn't been contacted and alerted to something being in the water that potentially could harm crops, there could have been hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage among the 4 or 5 farms that take water out of that ditch in St. Joe County. You know, that's huge. And we also are concerned, I personally am concerned about the adjacent ditches that are private ditches on my property that connect to the Dixon Place ditch, because some of those ditches are designed to backflow onto my property. So any of that potential pollution, whatever it is going into my ditches. And so the ethanol plant needs to do testing, and if there's, you know, harmful substances either on the surface or something that has settled into the sediment at the bottom of the ditch or along the bank sides, that needs to be cleaned up, not just in the Dixon Place ditch, but any other private ditches that were affected by that spill. You know, we would like to see a current cleanup plan as soon as we know what the spill is that we're dealing with, and then something put into place for the future so that we can prevent or minimize any potential spill of this nature going forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Brent Burkus, 58995 Mayflower Road, owner-operator of Blad Farms. I just want to support her comments with the fact that this area that we farm is the headwaters of the once Grand Kankakee Marsh. So this is a very, very water-intensive environment, very delicate. The second thing is, I think people should know, is that this area, for lack of a better word, is the Saudi Arabia of water. This is a very unique area, plenty of water. We've got natural springs coming out of the ground in the fields. So this whole area fed the Grand Kankakee Marsh. And for the record, there's a great PBS documentary about that if you so care to watch. I'm the one that called IDEM when I went out to the ditch Wednesday morning after I was notified the evening before that there was a problem. It was black. The water was basically black with coffee ground black. I thought it was a sewage leak. Working with Mr. Law and with the ethanol plant, we went out, we identified the problem, and it appeared to be coming out of the retention pond next to the ethanol plant, and then that's when the ethanol plant kicked in. At this juncture, we are waiting for the ethanol plant to provide us with the soil or the samples they took on our farm last Wednesday. We were told we would have copies of that. That's very important because we've got to send that data to Pioneer Seed Company and our agronomist so we can determine if we can pull water out of the ditches to irrigate the crops. The good news is we've got a lot of rain chances this week, so I think we'll be okay there. But we need to get answers from the ethanol plant, and from what I can tell, they're not talking now. So I think going forward, in addition to what Chantel said, I think there needs to be some kind of enhancement of the existing filter strips and the riverbank grasses, so if this were to happen again, we've got more protection. And then I think going forward, the landowners need to be at the table with IDEM, with the city, and with the ethanol plant. So somehow we need to understand what exactly happened here and how can this be prevented. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we'll stay apprised of it, working with EMA at the end. I think one of the main things that you all were concerned about of something happens, there should be some type of call that goes out to the owners within, I don't know, a couple miles, or whatever it is for that, but we'll stay on that. So thank you all for having the hard work to come out and give us the information. John, you got anything else? Okay, very good. Yeah, we'll do that. I don't know specifically what other things. I think it's up to IDEM and all that to start that, but keep us advised, and if anything else, and then we'll go from there. But thank y'all.
Just for clarification, where do things stand with IDEM? They've been notified?
Yes, I called IDEM on Wednesday. I talked to John at IDEM, and they were out yesterday. John was, looking at samples and so forth. What he told us yesterday, because Chantel was with me, was that it appears that the fish are trying to go into the ditches that have not been impacted because they can't breathe in the river right now. So they're struggling to get, we've got a lot of outflows where you got clean water going into the river, and they are in the river trying to get through to the clean water to breathe.
Especially if it's an organic material, high biochemical oxygen demand, BOD loading. Makes sense that the fish are trying to find a place to breathe.
Yep, so that came from John and IDEM yesterday when we talked to him out at the farm.
Thank you.
And we are still awaiting their report. We keep being told we're going to get a copy of it or a summary of it, and we still have not received that.
Thank you.
There being no old business, we'll move on to public comments. Please go up to the podium and your name and address, please.
Ruben Alvarado, Reith Riley Construction. The first agenda was opening of bids. The St. Joseph County Various Roads Project had the bid opening. The bids were not read aloud as advertised, legally advertised. Could we get those read aloud at these for the record, please?
We typically have them return to the agency that requested them.
Right.
They review them, and they bring back the bid opening, and you will be receiving reading.
Typically, they're read aloud. The legal advertisement said that they were to read aloud at the commissioners' meeting here. And for the record, they're supposed to be, put into records. So then afterwards, they're taken back to the commissioner for, or to the Public Works for bid tabulation and such. So I guess that's where I request per legal advertisement, I think they're supposed to open them and actually read them aloud.
Normally, they read the base bid amount.
Yeah, that's correct. So can we get Mr. Meeks to read
Which bid
them?
opening are we referring
The
to?
RNS road resurfacing.
Okay, I was corrected.
Yeah, Mr. Meeks is
Yeah.
right behind us, if it's possible.
Mr. Meeks?
Thank you.
Would you please open those and
Sure.
read aloud the bid amounts? And upon reflection, the gentleman from Reith Riley, and you are correct, these were RFPs for
Right, so they should have base
They
bid
should have
amounts
had a
to be
base
read.
bid amount.
This is the bid by Reith Riley Construction Company, 25200 State Road 23, in the amount of $2,761,190.60. This is the bid by Milestone Contractors North, Inc., 24358. State Route 23, South Bend, Indiana. The bid was $2,827,000 even.
Thank you. We will take those back and review them further. And bring a recommendation back for award.
Yes.
Now, we will move on to public comment. Who wishes to speak first? Seeing nobody, we'll move to those online. I see Cynthia Heckman's hand is raised.
Good morning, Commissioners. I want to thank you for passing the proposal to opt in to the Health First Indiana proposal. I've been speaking to the Board of Commissioners and other groups about this, and I'm glad to see this progress. I think it's a good opportunity for us to improve the health of the county in a variety of ways. And I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. Roy Sines, your hand is up next.
Roy Sines, 426 South Mead Street, South Bend. It's a bummer about the leakage over there. Hopefully salt garages don't have that same effect. But I want to address resolution that was just passed, R16C-23. One of the concerns from the community has been that there's been a lack of communication on major issues in the community. This seems to be a major impactful item for regulating and managing the county government. And it would have been helpful for the community to digest the impact of what the pros and cons were for opting in versus not opting into the current form of government that was proposed under this resolution. Hopefully the commissioners will be kind enough to put out a statement as to what the positives versus the negatives were into opting into this. Especially if there are any perceived cost savings, and how that also may have affected the regulation of the county and the management of the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else online wish to speak? Seeing none, do we have a motion to recess?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
We're recessed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.